Yo, what it do, man? Welcome to Win on 3. I'm your host, Spade. You already know, man, sorry for the delay. This is the very first episode. So we had some technical difficulties I had to work out, but we got it all squared away. So right now, again, like I say, welcome, man. This is Win on 3, where we will discuss, the what's going on in the sports world, some media, some social stuff, but we're gonna discuss a lot of sports, a lot of what's going on. And again, welcome. This is Win on 3. I'm your host Spade. We're gonna have guest hosts also joining me to help me out with this right here. So this is the very first episode, and we're just gonna get into a couple things that's been going on in the media the past week, past few days that have been going down. So if you know, I know you I know you've been seeing everything that's been going on in the news, sports world. Shannon Sharp, which was last week. A lot of things been going on with Shannon. We'll get into it with Shannon Sharp with the lawsuit that he got going on. Also, Sheduer Sanders, that just fell real bad in the draft um, last weekend. So we'll also get into that. We'll talk about that, give you my input, and also with this is not just going to be me talking all the time. I do want to get interaction with the audience, people that's listening, people that's watching. So if you do want to get into it, you want to give your opinion on the discussion that is going on, you can inbox me. If you're watching me on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, you can inbox me. I'll go ahead and get see. We're still having some technical difficulties, some lagging, some freezing. Still working out these kinks, man. This is very first episode, so I still got to get these everything right, and I still need some assistance in some areas. If someone that's like a producer or someone that's real tech savvy that wants to help out, I'm down. I'm open for discussion. Hit me up on whichever way you feel like you can hit me up. Like I said, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and also YouTube. So you could hit me up whichever way you feel like hitting me up, so we can have a conversation on how you can help me out. To enhance this. All right. So first and foremost, like I said, we're gonna discuss Sheduer Sanders. What Sheduer Sanders started, his college career back at Jackson State, which is HBCU, with his dad started coaching out there. And some of the things I might say about Travis, I mean not Travis, but Sheduer, they can sound biased, but because it probably is because I am a fan. I've been watching them play, like I say, since I seen a little high school highlights here and there, but when he got to Jackson State, I really tuned in because I am a Deion Sanders fan. So when I found out he was coaching at Jackson State, I started paying attention. And then when I found out his son, you know, was playing for him, I already know Shiloh was playing at South Carolina, but Shiloh wasn't really making any noise. He's not that athletic, but when Sheduer was playing quarterback, quarterback is one of the most highlighted positions in football. So when I found out his son was playing quarterback, I started watching him more and paying more attention to what they was doing over there at Jackson State. So I was finding ways to watch the games, and then it was a big thing when Travis Hunter went out there to play with them because Travis Hunter was recruited as a 5-star number one prospect out of high school. So when he went over there, that brought the attention over there, and I was paying attention since he was at Jackson State, and he was balling at Jackson State. I know if you was watching him too, you seen that he was balling at Jackson State. So at the same time, everybody was saying, "Hey, it's a HBCU," and I can't argue with them. It is a HBCU. It's not like it was like you said, a Power Five. It wasn't. It wasn't Georgia. It wasn't Alabama, and it wasn't even Colorado at the time. So you can't argue with somebody when they say, "Hey, yeah, he's playing good. He's balling, but he's at a HBCU." Where they have talent, but it's not the top talent. It's not going to HBCU. So your competition is not going to be the best competition in the country. So when people was doubting his skills, okay, I'm like, all right, I can't argue with you on that because it is a HBCU. So, but 2 years went by. They did good. They went to two championship games, and I believe they went to two, or they went to a semifinal and lost. But I'm pretty sure they went to a championship game, which is I saw that game at least, and they lost. They couldn't finish the job. They couldn't win that last game. Almost went undefeated. They couldn't finish that last game. Then they lost two games for a couple years. I would look it up, but I'm just going from what on top of my head right now. All right, so he couldn't finish the job. You could say that, but you could see the talent. You could see, he could read the field. If you watch football, he could what I'm saying, he could read the field. So with that being said, I took it upon myself that hey, he's a decent quarterback. And then when they went to Colorado, it was time to show. It was like, okay, now it's time for you to show what you can or can't do. All right. So when he got there, he did what he was supposed to do. There was a 1-11 team, and what they won 5 games this first season he was there, and then they won 9 games. So it was a big improvement. So for him to drop in the draft like that, that is not something that people was looking like that was going to happen. Everybody was shocked. To be honest with you, everybody was shocked. I was shocked, and all the draft analyst people, they nobody had them going past the first round. The lowest they had them was the 21st pick in the first round, right? That first day of the draft was the 21st pick in the first round to Pittsburgh. First, it was maybe he's going second to Cleveland, third to the Giants. Then they say maybe he didn't do good on the interview, so he might drop ninth to the Saints. But then after that first round, they started saying, hey, his interviews wasn't good. He came in there too cocky, and a lot of reports started coming out on why he's going to drop in the draft. So okay, he's going to drop. People would think he's going to drop in the second round. That's what I would think. I'm like, all right, if he's going to drop, he's going to drop to the second round. So it is a disappointment, but hey, second round is second round. You still getting paid. You basically a starter in the second round. So I usually don't watch the draft as long as I did. I usually watch the first round of the draft if I do, or the first half of the first round, and then I'm done. Everything else, I get it on my phone notification. Hey, the Dolphins draft this person because that's who I'm. That's Colorado players. Like I said, I'm a Dion fan. I'm watching what Colorado is doing out there, and especially Sheduer to see where he's going because Cam went first, so I'm trying to see where Sheduer gonna go. You know what I'm saying? So so they had me watch the whole goddamn draft. To be honest with you, I watched the first round. I watched the second round. I watched the third round. I actually didn't stop watching it. Well, at some points I stopped watching it, but I'm still on my phone looking like who's getting drafted next. Or all right, especially when certain teams coming up like the Raiders, even the L.A. Rams, because I know Stafford is getting older, so I'm like, okay, maybe they'll pull the trigger. Like in the third and the fourth round, I'm like, okay, I'm starting to watch these other teams that might need a quarterback in a year or two. Maybe they're going to take them. So I'm watching my phone every time a pick coming up. The Raiders coming up. I'm trying to see, basically the Browns. But after the Browns took what's his name, Dylan Gabriel, I'm like, all right, they're out of there. So they're not gonna draft him. So I'm still watching Pittsburgh. I'm watching all these picks to see who's gonna go ahead and pull the trigger on this man. And lo and behold, nobody pulled the trigger until it's not too much of a speculation, but we kind of got an idea why he dropped. One, to me, you asked me, I believe, his dad is Deion Sanders. So that's the reason. Like you say, he went into these meetings and these interviews, and they said he was a little too cocky. So and his demeanor, I'm not gonna sit here and say maybe he wasn't, because I actually thought he was gonna go high and he didn't have to kill the he didn't have to kill the the interviews and nothing like that, and he would still get well. I didn't think he'd go in the goddamn fifth round. I don't think nobody did. So nobody can say they thought he would go in the fifth round. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I feel about it. But he did, and now he's there with the Browns, and for whatever reason he's there now, and he has to battle to get a starting position. And personally, I think he can win. And like I said before, I'm a fan of his, so I believe he can win that starting position. All right, against Dylan Gabriel, and who else is over there? Goddamn, what's his name that got that was in where was he at? Was he at Pittsburgh? Pickett was on his third team in 2 years. Goddamn old guy. So I feel like he could win that. He can win that. He can win that position, right? He can win that position. So you just got to go out there and show what he can do. And people were saying, even Stephen A. Smith was saying, bringing up Colin Kaepernick about how there's a collusion and all that stuff. But I don't personally would really want to take it that deep. But you know, it is what it is, man. Like you said, it is what it is. And he just has to go there and show it now, man. He just got to go and show his talent, which I believe in his talent. I believe he was the second best quarterback in the draft. I want to say first, but I'm not going to just say like that. I believe Cam Ward does have a better zip on that ball, and he's a little more mobile. And but Shador, to me, Shador see the field a little better. You know what I'm saying? He's more of a pro pocket quarterback than Cam. But Cam like to run out a little earlier than usual than you would love. But I do think that he is ready. I do think Shador is ready for the league right now. So yeah, man. So that is where we at with Shador Sanders, man. Like I said, this is the first episode. So once we get popping, and you hear me going on right now, rumbling on, because I don't have my co-hosts with me. They're not ready yet to come on. But like I said, the audience yourself, if you would like to engage, you just inbox me, and I send you the link. You come up here, you let me know what you think, and then if you think different than I do, we'll have a discussion. You know what I'm saying? All you gotta do is, keep it cordial, respect me, I'm gonna respect you, and we can just have a conversation. There is nothing wrong with having a conversation. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna go ahead and find something to play for you real quick about the Shador Sanders situation. You know, and well, yeah, they talking about this prank stuff too, man. That goddamn Jet, the son of a damn the Falcons defensive coordinator's son, with that damn prank call. That was fucked up. That was real fucked up. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully hopefully he gets reprimanded for that shit, for goddamn doing that fucked up ass prank call. You know what I'm saying? So I got this video here from Manny Jones. Go ahead and play it for you. So I'm going and play it so you could have an idea of some of the stuff that's going on. All right, give me 1 second. I'm gonna get it on here. I'm gonna get it on here for you right now. Yeah, let me know if you can hear it. All right, this is Behani Jones talking about the Shador situation.
Sanders' stunning NFL draft freefall had been chalked up to a number of reasons, but comparing it to Colin Kaepernick's blacklisting has rubbed some people the wrong way. Bomani Jones is one of those people. To my colleagues who are making this a cause, you are embarrassing yourselves. You are playing yourselves, Jones said in Monday's episode of The Right Time with Bomani Jones. Even if part of why he fell is that people didn't like him, he was going for a job where being liked is part of the deal. They did it wrong. That's all it comes down to. They did it wrong. While Kaepernick's and Sanders' situations can draw similarities from the fact that they both brought a sort of controversy and headache to a team that employs them, the former ESPN personality Jones says their situations can't be likened to one another. There are criticisms to be made of Colin Kaepernick, but he literally gave it all up in the name of a cause that was bigger than him. The only cause Sheduer Sanders has is himself, Jones said. Don't you mother-king dare act like those two things are the same? Do not. If your argument is, they wanted to show this outspoken black man his place. No. 1. Let us stop acting like outspoken and obnoxious are perfect synonyms. They are not, Jones said. NFL fans won't forget Kaepernick's exit from the league after protesting against police brutality and racial injustice in America by kneeling for the national anthem before games. He opted out of his contract with the 49ers in 2017 and was never picked up by another team. Sanders was seen as a top quarterback prospect in the draft, yet fell all the way to the 5th round before being drafted by the Browns.
Yeah. So that's what That's what he had to say. That's what he had to say about it.
When you play with kids, you end up at the playground.
So many different opinions on this. Some people looking at it like it was his fault. He came out there too cocky. That he didn't take it serious. He thought he was better than he was. But I mean, how do you think you better than you are? If you feel like you're that good, you feel like you're that good. It's not like you think you're better than you are. And if you have the tape out there to show that you're that good, that you feel like you're that good, why shouldn't you come out there as if you are that good? So, especially on ESPN, there's all kind of opinions on that shit. Everybody had their own opinion, but it is what it is, and we all know, like I said, Sheduer right now, he's in the door. He got his he got drafted, even though it's not where he wanted to get drafted. He got drafted. All right, and and now it's up to him. It's up to him to show what he got. It's up to him to prove these people wrong. That he can do what he what he planned out to do. All right. So we're gonna go right now, and I'm gonna go on for 30 minutes, 30 seconds, and then we'll come back and speak a little bit about Shannon Sharp and what he got going on. All right. Yo, yo. So we're back. We're back now, man. So let's say a couple words about what's going on with Shannon Sharp. So this is what you're looking at right now. That is the picture of Shannon Sharp, Hall of Fame, NFL tight end, man. Hall of Fame NFL tight end. Yeah, it's being accused now of I don't know. I heard a lot of people be saying the R word and all this stuff. I don't know. We're not supposed to say. Not supposed to say rape or sexual assault. I don't know. So if they block it from me saying it, then I guess I'm not supposed to be saying it. But that is what he is allegedly um, being accused of this girl that you see right here on the screen right now. So Shannon was is being accused of this girl. She's filed a lawsuit of $50 million. Yeah, $50 million for sexual assault and rape. What is she's accusing him for? It's it's not legal. It's not I'm not saying not legal, but it's not a what word am I looking for? It's not in criminal court. All right, so he's not being criminally charged for of rape or sexual assault. He's being sued. So she just want the money pretty much. She wants the money and then everything will be okay. That's where she stands with it. But I know you guys done heard or seen some of the stuff that's been going on. So about Shannon with this alleged rape scene. All right. So let me get to it right now. See if we could get any audio of of what what's being said with Shannon Sharp. There is something right here with the sidebar.
Former co-host to another former
Um,
NFL player to Sharp making a surprise visit. A lot to
I
talk
wanted to
about as the
hear
former NFL.
what they had to say about this. This is some new update from from the sidebar. So I'm gonna play some of it so you can hear the new updates of what's going on. All right. So give me a second while I add this on here. And we can listen together because I haven't really listened to this yet. So we can listen to it and
Tie me up and
see what
do
they
bad
talk
things
about.
to me. Now, Busby responded and said that these messages are from before the alleged assaults. And really, a woman can say yes 99 times, but that one time she says no, that's all that matters. And in that vein, by the way, an audio clip was released by Tony Busby, or seemingly by him and his side, capturing the voice of a woman whom attorneys identify as the woman suing Shannon Sharpe, telling him not to manipulate her. And then you hear a man's voice, resembling Shannon Sharpe's, can be heard saying, if you say that word one more time, I'm going to bleep and choke the bleep out of you when I see you. And the woman, allegedly Jane Doe in this case, then can be heard saying she does not want that, while the voice resembling Shannon Sharpe responds, yes, you do. I don't think you have a choice in the matter. Then Shannon Sharpe, and we talked about this on a previous sidebar, decided to temporarily step away from his job at ESPN's First Take. And Sharpe's statement that was posted to his Instagram account on April 24th says in part, quote, the relationship in question was 100% consensual. At this juncture, I am electing to step aside temporarily from my ESPN duties. I will be devoting this time to my family and responding and dealing with false and disruptive allegations against me. I plan to return to ESPN at the start of the NFL preseason. And following Sharpe's departure, ESPN released a statement of its own. A spokesperson for the sports conglomerate writing, this is a serious situation, and we agree with Shannon's decision to step away. But it was reported from outlets like Us Weekly that just hours later, Sharpe showed up at the NFL draft in Wisconsin and recorded an episode of his Nightcap podcast with Chad Ochocinco Johnson. Although they didn't talk anything about the allegations, it was interesting he made that appearance. Now, we have some more statements and responses that we haven't gotten into previously on other episodes of Sidebar, but we're going to get into now. But before we do that, I want to bring on Dan Lust, sports attorney, host of the Conduct Detrimental podcast, and professor at New York Law School. Dan, so good to see you. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Jesse, good to see you as well. The story, as you would expect, is front page news in our world. So certainly happy to break it down with you.
I know. When it broke, we wanted you on immediately. We haven't talked about it. Your overall thoughts on everything that I laid out so far, and we'll get into more specifics. I know we're going to get into a little bit about what Stephen A. Smith had to say, because we presented a little bit of his response in our last episode, but he has a much fuller response that we'll get into. So putting Stephen A. Smith to the side, just your overall thoughts on what you're seeing here.
Yeah, so this is a dynamic story involving a sports media personality, and we're seeing the case litigated through the media. So every day we have something new. And as I think you and I kind of exchanged some thoughts briefly last week, this was an evolving story, and I figured there would be an update this week, and obviously it's still somewhat unfolding. But, on big picture, we have Tony Busby, who is no stranger to high-profile cases involving, people in the sports and entertainment realm. And then we have, I guess, a character from the past.
So just to know that, that Tony Busby guy is that same guy that tried to sue Jay-Z with that whole story with the underage girl that Jay-Z went hard at, and until he dropped that case, he dropped that those allegations, and I believe Jay-Z's even trying to sue him now. So that is a lot. So that guy has been going, and he's the same guy that was going after Puffy too. He's got a lot of accusations on Puffy also. The same guy, Tony Busby, has a lot of accusations going on Puffy. That motherfucker had a 1-800 hotline for Puffy accusers, so people could call him so he can so they can get on Puffy. So you already know, man, that person there got a lot going on. All right, so we're gonna listen to a little bit more on this. We're not gonna stick onto it too much. So if you would like to watch this, you can go watch it on Sidebar with Jesse Weber. He's on YouTube also. So we're just gonna listen to a little bit more of what he got going on.
Lanny Davis, the attorney for Shannon Sharp. Anytime you see kind of two high-profile lawyers on either side, I start kind of dissecting the lawyer beats in the conversation. So a lot to unpack, and certainly no shortage of legal tactics in the media to kind of look at here.
I said this before, I'll say it again. It feels like the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni strategy. Litigate this in the media, right? Especially when you have a high-profile individual like this, because you're not only battling this in the court of law, you're battling this in the court of public opinion. I'm not saying you should do this, but what I think is we're seeing is if you put enough out there, it could create a situation where Jane Doe might drop her suit. If people start siding with Shannon Sharp, if he presents text messages, it's getting quite ugly before there's some sort of protective order or gag order put in place by the court. What do you make of this strategy to litigate this for everyone to see?
This is the weird part. And I'll also add to that, like, there's a little bit coming from here, a little bit coming from here. And if you kind of create a circus about a story, maybe it loses its underlying heart and the sensitivity of the nature of the allegation. So I think that's a little bit what's going on. From a substantive perspective, and I know you alluded to it, right? There's I think it's a minute-ish clip, purportedly a phone call between Shannon Sharp and his accuser. And there are, we'll say, and this is kind of the first domino, right? It's not a graphic video in terms of, it's not a video. It's actually just a phone call, and we're talking about some things. Put it this way, I don't want to make this kind of step in it, but you can say things on a phone call that will be two things that two adults are legally a much more extensive array of text messages that also carried within the same theme of graphic messaging. Again, maybe not necessarily illegal, but things that consenting adults could consent to, right? There's no issue with this. You and I have talked on a previous episode. Things like Tony Busby's side allegedly released this a minute audio clip. The text messages are more of the same, none of which are criminal, but we understand, right? I think as a viewing public, we can understand there is some consent that happened to this, but you're not really litigating the case in the media, so to speak, by offering text messages that don't show consent of the underlying act of sexual assault that's here. So yes, it's just, to me, that move was really just muddying the waters, and we can certainly get into what I view as other confusing signals. We'll put it that way.
They're saying it was all role playing, right? The idea of what he said on that, or allegedly said on that audio tape, is another example of role playing, and that she agreed to all of it. And they're trying to gray up a lot of this. And it's interesting because, and we'll get into this a little bit later, about the idea that he potentially offered her a $10 million settlement before she filed. Now, some people would say, if you offer that settlement, you're hiding something, right? You're guilty as sin. The other people say, I don't want this coming out. This is embarrassing for me. I mean, this is my personal, private, intimate life. I don't want any of this coming out. $10 million? What does that say to you?
I have some strong thoughts there, and this is where I was kind of getting to, so I'm happy you took us there. It's just mixed signals, right? You can't have a statement that basically dares someone to release the video. Release the full video, not the unedited. Release everything. We want this to be out there for everyone to see. We want it to be litigated above board. Let's get this all out. And at the same time say, well...
So if y'all remember, right, or if I don't know if you guys seen it or not, but there was a deal behind the scenes of Shannon trying to give her 10 million before she popped out with the 50 million. So that made him look a little crazy. Like I said, there was the same person going after Jay-Z, and Jay-Z did not offer, but Jay-Z knew he was off top. All that shit just sounded crazy anyways. The Jay-Z thing just sounded off the wall crazy. So Jay-Z off top didn't offer nothing, but Shannon offered 10 million. So that make him look crazy at the same time. You know what I'm saying? And they got the recordings and all that stuff, what this lawyer is talking about, where he's telling the same thing. He's telling her, she's, if you do this and that, I'm gonna choke you in public and all that. It's a lot. It's a lot. So I'm not gonna break everything down. Maybe next time I have more stuff as more things come out on Shannon. I have more stuff. I have more videos, more audio, and stuff like that on Shannon, on this situation about Shannon, for you to hear. So I'm going to skip into this on this audio a little bit, let you hear a little bit more before we move on. All right.
Want to have that on their brand. They don't have to. So I'm not sure that Shannon Sharp ever appears on ESPN again. Certainly he could have a lucrative career working for any number of other football networks, but that's the nature of the beast. If you were Shannon Sharp side, you've put your finger on the pulse. You want to put all of this out in the media, and there are ramifications to doing that. So, I just hope Shannon Sharp was advised of that properly. But from Stephen A. Smith's perspective, he's pointing the finger at the lawyer, which you never want to be the subject of the story.
It's an interesting point. You hope that they're on the same page moving forward, but I hear you. It's a good point. Okay, I want your reaction to this. So there's another statement. This is a new statement from Shannon Sharp's litigation counsel, Mitchell Sheduer. So one of the things that he addressed is why Sharp would be willing to pay $10 million, this settlement, to Jane Doe before she filed the suit, saying when she learned that he would not father a child with her, she resorted to extortion. While Shannon was willing to pay her a substantial amount of money to avoid the intimate details of his personal life from being exposed, as many high-profile individuals often do when they're being threatened. Dan, first, let me start there. Thoughts on that?
I think it's funny that another lawyer is now giving statements trying to do some CYA for the first lawyer. That's my perspective. But yeah, I mean,
that's
listen,
fair. That's fair.
I'm just a different lawyer. Usually you don't have two different lawyers within 72 hours giving statements in the case. Someone takes the reins. So I think our friend Stephen A. Smith gave us some hints here. But yes, yeah, statement's interesting. But yes, keep going. All good.
Okay, so there's another part where Sheduer also explained that Sharp intends to pursue claims against, meaning Jane Doe, and all who have assisted her with the dissemination of her fabricated story. And this is interesting, right? Does that mean he's going to file a lawsuit for defamation against her? Because I don't know how that works. There's a litigation privilege, right? Somebody can file. Every lawsuit, the other side's going to say is not true, it's all lies. You can't just turn around and file a defamation lawsuit. You have to have the ability to present your claims. What could he sue for?
It's not that different. And I think Shannon Sharp referenced this in his Instagram post probably at some point last week. But he said Tony Busby is the same lawyer that went after, Jay-Z, and that lawsuit was later dropped. And I think if memory serves, I believe Jay-Z is going after Tony Busby, the lawyer behind that case, for putting that case out. The underlying case was dropped, but I believe Jay-Z is pursuing a defamation case against Tony Busby in connection with that.
And extortion too, yeah.
Extortion, right. So it depends, again, what state we're based in. But if you wanted to tell me, not defamation, right, but if a video is doctored, right, you're not really necessarily protected by the judicial privilege if you are manufacturing and faking a video, which seemingly was the allegation from Sharp's side. So, you could always defend it and say litigation privilege. We filed this lawsuit ahead of time. We're certainly protected. But it's not going to stop someone from suing and maybe applying the same pressure tactics that Shannon Sharp's side was accusing Tony Busby of in the first sense, right? You might have some exposure, and maybe your malpractice carrier has some money they want to pony up instead of litigating the case in the court system. So you certainly could do that, but it's not the first and certainly won't be the last defendant to fire back and say these claims are defamatory. I'm being extorted, and I'm going to sue you, right? And maybe not via a counterclaim, but via a separate action. That's certainly possible.
And we have just a couple of that. Marcellus Wiley, also a former NFL player, reacted to this lawsuit Sunday during an episode of Dat Dude TV on YouTube, saying his, quote, spidey senses were tingling when he heard about the filing. He said, something just ain't right with the timing of the settlement offer, the allegations, and even the temporary leave of absence. Either Shannon got played or you and me, are getting played as well. Did she know that deal was happening, or she didn't know? Because on Friday it was reported, and on Sunday she filed. What happened between Friday and Sunday? Dan, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think what Marcellus is alluding to, there had been some reports of a very lucrative deal that Shannon's podcast network was being acquired. I think the number was, again, floated around 400 million. So if you're asking me why 10 million was offered, right, and obviously you and I are joking about Mitchell Sheduer's second statement seeming to try to explain why Davis was talking about the 10 million off in the first place. If you stand to make $400 million, certainly $10 million is a drop in the bucket with respect to $400 million.
Yo, hold on. Okay, my mic was muted, but what I was saying is I heard this man say 400 million that Shannon was being offered for his podcast, not just his podcast, but for his media. Shay Media, which have like four or five different shows under his belt. I don't know. Maybe he misread. I stopped this. I haven't watched this yet, so I just stopped it when I heard him say he was being offered that much. Because from my knowledge, I thought it was he was being offered 100 million because his contract was going to be done with Volume with Colin Cowherd. They was going to offer him 100 million, and he was willing to give up 10 million of that, so this doesn't come out. Because if you're gonna make 100, you could give her 10, even if it's not true. You know what I'm saying? Because you might think, okay, you trying to give up 10 million. Some of this got to be true because you trying to pay somebody 10 million just to shut up, not to come tell a lie about you. Because if you feel like it's a lie, who gonna pay 10 million for somebody not to lie on you? You know what I'm saying? So with him wanting to give her 10 million is like, hold on, it's a red flag. Hold on, man. You trying to pay her 10 million? Something got to be up. You probably didn't do it twice, but you probably did it once. So speculations really start ramping up when we hear that you try to pay her 10 million not to come out. But if I'm set to make 1 million, what I'm saying, that's like you gonna make 100, and you try and give somebody $1 to get out the way. That's pretty much what it was. Hey, get this dollar and get out the way. I got 99. I'm gonna keep this 99. You know what I'm saying? Or get this $10. Matter of fact, you feel me? Take this $10 and I'm gonna keep this $90, man. Just get out the way. Keep your mouth shut. Even though I ain't do nothing to you, but just you opening your mouth gonna cost me this 90. So I might well give you 10 out of 90 so I could get the 90. But she didn't do that. She went along with it. So now his name, even if he ain't do it, man, his name right now is messed up. And there is other reports that there is a second female. You feel me? There was a second female that came out and with some other lawsuits against Shannon, man. But I wish the best for Shannon. Like this is a sports show, went on 3, so I am a sports fan. Been watching sports from as long as I can remember. So I do remember Shannon Sharp, playing football. I remember him being on what you call it with Skip, Undisputed with Skip. Then all that stuff went down, and he went over there with Stephen A. Smith. But I hope it's not true that Shannon get back to Shannon activities, but he didn't stop his nightcap. He's still doing nightcap, still going live. You know what I'm saying? He's still going on because shit, the nigga need money for goddamn for lawyers, so can't stop the hustle. Got to keep that hustle going because you gonna pay them lawyers to keep that off your back. Keep that 50 million off your back. You gonna pay a good 2-3 million. So you gotta keep hustling and keep them off your back. You know what I'm saying? So let me see what else they got to say. We're gonna play a little bit more of that, and then we're gonna just keep it going, man, and get into the next subject with these NBA playoffs. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. LeBron could be over, man. Might have to hang him up after this year. You know what I'm saying? You don't play with Bronny, so. But let's get done with Shannon real quick, man, and see what's going on.
And if you could pay 10 and then you net out 390, maybe you pay 10. Maybe that makes sense. That's the type of cost benefit settlement that we talk about. I'm not aware that we were that close to a statute of limitations, and I could be wrong. But filing on a Sunday is somewhat odd. Filing on a Sunday tells you want to get the media for that entire week. And let's not kid ourselves. Last week was the NFL draft. It's the middle of the NFL offseason. Usually if you file on a Sunday during the NFL season, people are talking about football. They're talking about Sunday night football. They're talking about Monday night football. This is the dead time with respect to NFL media. So when you file on Sunday and there's no football activities until the draft on Thursday, you're winning the war in the headlines for those dates. So I think Marcellus is probably right that there is some gamesmanship there. And I do think this was related to the impending deal that Shannon was about to sign. Now, I had the thought, Jesse, this morning, do we think Tony Busby is happy that Shannon Sharpe put his foot on the accelerator and sped up this case in the court of public opinion by releasing those texts? The answer to that is probably no, because there's less that Tony Busby can now leverage Sharpe with, because now Sharpe seemingly is, I guess, a temporary free agent, whatever you want to call it, or is temporarily off the air, whatever they're phrasing it as. There's not that much more leverage that Busby could do, because every day he could say, listen, they'll take you off the air tomorrow if I put this out. They'll take you off the air the next day. And that leverage is now gone. It's not to say that the case is going to be any different, but I'm sure Busby was licking his chops at the ability to threaten the release of this video over time. But now he doesn't have that anymore. There's seemingly less bullets in the trigger.
Yeah, it's hard to believe it's just been like a week.